New Horizons for Children is a faith-based organization that has been working in different parts of the world to help orphaned and vulnerable children. And among the places that we work is Ukraine. And we've been in Ukraine for over 10 years, helping vulnerable and orphan children in different ways. Our executive director is Dr. Sherry McClurg. She's a clinical psychologist specializing in adolescent trauma. And when the war started in Ukraine, we are already underway helping some of the orphanages there that we know and some of the boarding schools. And when the war started, the opportunity just opened up for us to continue to serve more children there.
Well, something I found very interesting when I was going through the website is that the main type of training that you guys focus on with anyone a part of the organization is how to approach trauma-enforced caregiving and how to go about it. And I found that very interesting because that's a key role in what a lot of the kids are experiencing.
When the war started, the boarding schools and orphanages that we work with are all across Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, the conflict is in the Far East. One of the NGOs we partnered with does the evacuations part. And so these children in the middle of the night left their orphanage on a bus for hours and hours. And when they arrived at the safe haven that New Horizons for Children established, they were coming off of the bus. Now, these children had experienced stacked traumas, the trauma of being in state care, of being an orphan, the trauma of knowing that the war was ongoing and going on, and then being moved from the only home that they really knew in the middle of the night, and in several situations with just their caregivers and the pajamas they had on, and then arriving at a place in the country they'd never been with all kinds of anxiety. So not just chronic trauma from their condition and their place in life, but also acute trauma from this conflict. Mm-hmm. And so we met them, our team met them with open arms and with hot food and with an understanding of what they're going through. And we were able to coordinate the NGOs that do food best and transportation best and meet basic needs, all within the lens of caring for their traumatized souls and hearts and minds. We call them safe havens. So they're places in far western Ukraine that are former schools or former boarding homes or other facilities that we have made fit to care for and be a residence for these children that are in transit. And so they have been evacuated from points in the east to points in the west where it's safer. Some children and some orphanages actually left the country, crossed the border, and some are coming back now. And so we will be serving those as well.
Have you met anyone that you have transported from another country that actually came to America? Have you met them personally?
So I'll answer your question in three parts. I have not left the country here. The way that I get to serve New Horizons for Children is on its board of directors. And so it's not nearly as exciting as our CEO and our care team. So I personally have not met anyone from Ukraine dealing with this crisis. Our team has been on the ground in shifts since the crisis started with very little downtime. The initial reaction of a lot of people was to get the children to safety, but the perspective on what's safe has evolved. Of course, the initial reaction is get them out of Ukraine. The challenge here, unfortunately, is that tremendous numbers of child traffickers had the same thought. We have had the opportunity to partner with the government of Ukraine, unlike some NGOs, in caring for and coming alongside Ukraine to care for Ukraine's children. And the safest place for these kids and these children and their caregivers is within the sovereign border of Ukraine, just in a safer place. Let's go back to that trauma question you asked. We want to avoid additional trauma, of course. And for most of these children, moving them to a different country, a different language, a different culture, a different system of child care with insufficient accountability and tracking would very likely be additional trauma and expose them to higher risks of trafficking.
Yeah.
So we've made the choice in partnering with the particular state of Lviv on the western edge to focus on keeping the children in safer places within Ukraine.
How can somebody watching this interview help or contribute? Do you guys take donations, or how does that work?
Fox 4 viewers can actually get involved. I think there's probably 3 ways that are paramount. One is to share our story of helping Ukraine care for Ukraine's orphans and helping Ukraine focus on the future during the conflict and after the conflict. New Horizons for Children has been in Ukraine for over 10 years. We intend to be in Ukraine for the long term, both during the conflict and after the conflict. And so sharing our story is one way your viewers can help. Go to our social platforms, particularly Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and share our story of how we're extending God's love and caring for these orphans. Of course, you can give. New Horizons for Children can be found online at nhfc.org. And we have a giving portal there for the Ukraine project. That's the second way. And then the third way, if any of your viewers are praying people, we would love to have them pray for the children of Ukraine for protection and for provision for their needs. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to be able to share kind of what we're doing and how we're trying to show love to some of the least of these and some of the vulnerable children in the middle of this conflict. And I just want your viewers to remember that we're having a chance to come alongside and work with Ukraine's government to care for Ukraine's children in Ukraine. And that's the safest place for them to be. And it's just an opportunity for us to fulfill our faith mission of caring for children and caring for the fatherless. So that's the fire in our hearts that drives us forward.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much, David, and you have a great day.